Hello and welcome. I'm your host for the day. I hope you're all doing well. Today we'll be discussing about the universal way of doing authentication and authorization. The agenda would be to touch upon unified access management, application authorization mechanisms, and related topics like single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, etc. We welcome you all to this interactive session and would love to answer your questions. Our discussion today will provide an insight into Skillmine Authenticator, an indigenous Make in India product by Skillmine, its use cases and benefits. Now, let me introduce the speakers for the day. Mr. Anant Agrawal, Director Skillmine. Hello, sir. Welcome to the session today.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Happy to be here. Thanks, Farhan.
Good afternoon, sir. And moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Vimal Prakash, Solution Architect, Skillmine. Hello to you, Vimal.
Vimal, you're mute.
Oops, sorry. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Hi, thank you for joining us today. Now, let me give you a brief introduction about our speaker.
One more aspect, Farhan. I think we have Vishwa Kiran also here, gentlemen, with us. Vishwa, you there? Right. Vishwa Kiran is the head of our digital practice, and he could join us at the last minute, so I couldn't stop introducing you, Vishwa.
Okay, great to have you. Great to have you, sir.
Over to you, Farhan.
Yeah, now I'll give you a brief introduction about the other two speakers, Mr. Anant and Vimal. Mr. Anant Agrawal, who had shared his insights on Skillmine's bespoke tool Complyman in the previous session, has joined us today. He's one of the directors of Skillmine. He spearheads customer engagement and delivery at the company. And our second speaker, Mr. Vimal Prakash, is a solution architect at Skillmine with over 11 years of experience in web security and fintech domains. And also we have Vishwa Kiran at the last minute. So we are glad to have all the three speakers with us today. Now, before I let our panelists take charge, let me once again welcome you all to the webinar. Now over to our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhan. So, hi, everyone. I see quite a bit of guests here. And again, welcome from myself, Vishwa, and Vimal, and Farhan to this session. Before we really get into kinds of presentations and showing the solution, I want to request that I wanted to keep this session very, very interactive. All of you can, if somebody has to share an opinion or share a point, just unmute and interject within our discussion. More than happy to have your point of opinions and your questions in an interactive manner as we go forward. We have enough time to actually do these discussions, and this point of opinions, discussions, and questions helps us also to learn from your perspectives and understand where you are coming from and incorporate any good creative suggestions as we mature the solutions going forward. So I would like to keep it as much interactive as possible. Before we get started into the presentations, why we are here for, right? I always ask a question, what am I doing? What problem are we solving? What value are we adding? Always, so that it's a good presence, good usage of people's presence and attention to their time. One of the things which is happening quite rapidly, if everybody observes, is 10-15 years back, we were all using applications which was hosted in our data center, right? On-prem applications, either being used as through a thin client or a thick client applications. And then I used to do fairly large implementations of Citrix if something needs to be getting accessed over the WAN or the LAN, depending upon the city and the distances. Some of quite a bit of those applications still remain. And then came the entire cloud model. So some applications now are on-prem, but quite a bit of applications within organizations have moved into rented data centers, which we call as cloud, whether they belong to an Azure or a AWS or a Google or a NetMagic or a Control S or a anywhere, right? Oracle Cloud is also there. So, and then knowingly, unknowingly, some applications are within an organizations are on AWS, and then so from on-prem plus cloud, it has become on-prem plus multi-cloud, and then the next came up whereby on-prem plus multi-cloud plus SaaS-based applications, and all of these explosion of the digital information age getting into the optimum and the best use of technologies, whoever is best, organizations and businesses take benefit of it. One common problem which is starting to emerge is a clear a way to control. Most of these have their own security levels at a basic level, but the overall access part of it, the overall controlling part of it, and the user. Within uh, 3 years back, when we were implementing Authenticator within a Skillmine, I used to have 5 different IDs. Imagine a Dynamics 365 instance, or a Workday, or a Salesforce, or an Oracle e-suite, or an SAP e-suite, which anybody may have. And then some applications will be on-prem, maybe your core banking application, your core systems. Some may be on a hosted environment for some of the processing layers for a particular credit card in a BFSI segment, or maybe a wealth management system in a insurance or a capital market business kind of a thing. So it creates that particular issue, and that's why we are here. And when we looked at this, it's not that this is a problem, but this problem is basically all about a universal solution or a platform to provide you a single platform for authentication, and not just authentication, but also authorizations. Uh, uh, and then there are quite a bit of solutions. The OpenID Connect 2.0 has defined some of the standards from particular ways to connect, and there are a lot of token mechanisms to do this authentication. So that's the problem which we are trying to solve here. Anybody within the audience may want to share some opinions or their challenges, any particular thoughts around this. Would be great to hear from you before we get into the presentation session.
So, Answer, I could give you a little bit of more context and background behind this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like what you said, the business statement of what you said is absolutely the spot on in terms of what we wanted to do. There is also a technical side of it where most software developers and essentially all the enterprise software development need such a library where you need to have one way of accessing, one way of authorizing, one way of knowing your customer. So that has to be unified into one approach. So that's where many enterprises struggle to be able to have a platform where they could easily integrate new applications, existing applications, make sure that the technologies are up to speed in terms of security requirements. So that's where I think there is a large amount of reuse that can be achieved, and that's where we land our product into. We're trying to be this reusable library of sorts, where you save a lot of man years in development and maintenance with our platform.
Absolutely. Okay. Since we don't have any particular questions as of now, we'll probably jump into the presentation side of things. I will share my screen. Can somebody acknowledge if my screen is visible?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
it's visible.
Right. Okay. So basically, the statement is that all users, any user who could be an employee, a contract employee, a partner employee, a supplier, or anybody, any kind of user, any kind of applications hosted anywhere, all devices, you should be able to authenticate through this platform. So what basically is this? That, I mean, it's basically kind of giving a central authorization with all, I call it as with all the bells and the whistles. What are those bells and whistles? My colleagues Vishwa, Vimal, and we will talk in the subsequent few minutes from here. At the same time, if I am a genuine user, why should I have so many IDs and passwords? So it should be simpler and easier for the genuine users and equally very tough for the unauthorized users. Controlling it, like Vishwa was saying, controlling it centrally and making sure that that's extra, it can be further scaled up for new applications is very, very important. So who is accessing, what he is accessing, or he or she, and how they are accessing, controlling that centrally. Again, I want to mention that Skillmine Authenticator is an authenticator solution. It's not an identity provider. So most of the businesses are IT enabled today. You must be using an Active Directory or some mechanism or an email address for giving a unique identity to each one of your users. That particular thing remains. It's the authentication which becomes more uniform with this. And without a doubt, it has to enforce the best practices around security for regulatory compliance as well, which is what a Skillmine Authenticator does. Quickly moving on. So, I mean, the user knows the password. He has some mechanism of a authorized mobile phone or an email address to get a token, and who the user is, basically either a face ID or a voice ID or a fingerprint and things like that. So that's what the user has. What the authenticator will do is it will make it frictionless. Once authorized, once done. So then as long as the device is right and the user is right and things like that, then it should be frictionless. And not just from a user perspective, but within multi-application, it should be able to have the interactive part of done, basically becoming a proxy to enterprise APIs. Right. Well, that's the what part of it. What are some of the benefits? Every user will have a self-service mechanism, not just from an application, but all your micro projects, microservices, one user base across multiple BUs. It can be, for example, if your partners are using any social IDs or anything, they can be easily integrated within that. Depending upon the user base, this platform can be scaled up, scaled down, and all your regulatory GDPR compliance is by default part of it because it complies with OpenID 2.0 standards. Maybe Vimal, would you like to take this slide?
Sure, sir. Yes, so Skillmine Authenticator, right? So it's like a cloud identity provider with it take care of your authentication and authorization, also with enterprise support. So nowadays, right, if you want to develop a cloud native application, right? So there are 12 factors. I think you know that already, which means these are the there are 12 factors you need to qualify. Claim you developed a cloud native applications, but there are beyond that 12 factor, which is one of the key component is this authentication and authorization part. So extending that, so it's not only giving the simple like username password kind, it also gives the like a MFA based access. So we have a support for FIDO, which is latest in the market, which is you can stick a pen drive kind of device. You can touch that and you can log in, or it will make use of your native browser login. I mean native computer login. It may be computer, it may be mobile, it may be Windows machine, it may be Mac, right? So with that, it will let you log in and it will identify you, okay, this is Vimal is coming from this Mac machine or it is coming from this mobile. Also, we have like a very standardized protocol to support our backend, which is Auth to OpenID Connect. That's our platform. In order to support the legacy things, like for example, XAML 2.0, AD, LDAP, and classical login, even REST based. For example, if you don't want to change your database, you can just expose the REST API to us, and we will tie it together, and we will take care of the username and password validations for you. And also it supports passwordless, as Anand mentioned. So passwordless in a two-legged way, which is first we will ask you who you are, and then we will prompt you to enter your second factors, which is maybe face, voice, email, SMS, or IVR call. Or it can be a single factor, which means by seeing you, we know we identify, okay, this is Vimal or this is X. Assume you want to open a door or you want to identify people in the crowd, just to seeing you, that ability we have in our product. Right. So also it supports like a multiple communication channels, like every user have its own preference to communication, preference for communication. It may be email or it may be SMS or IVR, push notification. This list, obviously, it is like vendor agnostic, which means like you can hook any provider you want. For example, email SendGrid, if you want to add it, you can add SendGrid. Or if you want to add any like third-party providers or your own SMTP provider, you can add it. Similarly for the other providers also. And also we do Google Captcha support for a fraud detection and TTOS protections. We integrate with Google V2 and V3 captchas, and also obviously we are compliance GDPR and HIPAA and ISO things. Yeah, I think rest of things I think I can show it in the demo.
Yeah.
Over to you, Anand.
Right. Thank you. Apart from that, I mean, one of the key things is, I mean, from a security perspective, from a more operational perspective, the solution has the capability from a deduplication perspective, alerts and notifications for any particular kind of failed authentication. One of the other aspects is any particular integration with some online payment providers, aggregation of that with multiple payment providers can be very easily done. And last but not the least, the software development kit, which comes along with the solution, what Vishwa was mentioning in his earlier conversation, is all about the development teams able to add new initiatives, new applications, or any particular thing which is coming up as new, to continue to add to this platform, to build on this particular platform, which is basically becomes your single platform to do that. And that particular aspect makes it quite a bit of value to save ongoing login process creations along with the security and best practices. Any application just does not require any particular kind of authentication algorithms and modules within them anymore. And the idea is that the solution is available in SaaS model for large organizations. There is a choice to implement it in on-prem as well. So it can be the organization's property as more and more things get built on this. Probably on the last slide with some of the use cases. So like we've been talking about it, right? I mean, a universal one login for all users managed centrally. A lot of e-commerce engines use any IDs of users, whether it is social media or anything else, to be able to log in and use their services. E-payment, any kind of standardizing and aggregation of receiving e-payments. Because this acts as a interface for the authentication, it can actually act as a very good API proxy and also facilitate role-based access controls between all kinds of on-prem, multi-cloud, and SaaS applications. One of the things which I have also perceived and observed is any new user joins within a team, it probably takes 2-3 days for us to provide his access. Removing the access is probably linked to the base ID provisioning, whether it's an Active Directory. But provisioning of access also takes a little bit of time. That can be done like very quickly. And whether it is managing consents, doing surveys, access to documents, selective access to documents, all those things can be very well covered. And from an industry perspective, pretty much all kinds of industry, whether it is banking, finance, capital markets, insurance, retail, manufacturing, across that, this particular solution can be very well used based on these use cases. That's pretty much on the presentation side of things. Vishwa, would you like to add anything more, or should we move to the demo part?
I think demo will be good, sir.
Okay. Vimal, would you be able to take over, please?
Yes, sir, sure. So let me share my screen. Tell me once you started seeing my screen.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see yours. We can see your screen, Vimal.
Okay, right. So I think as I told you earlier, like suppose if you want to develop like a cloud native application or like any application, first thing we'll focus on like how we are going to handle the user management. So if you see the overall effort, like these are the things for any simple application or complex application, you will focus first, and then you'll go for a business features, right? So what we try to solve is we kind of incorporate this and we will give you this as a like a ready-made, which means these are given to you. So you can directly focus on the business feature and you can directly write your business code instead of worrying about like, okay, how do I can handle the login, register, how do I connect with social providers, how do I connect with enterprise providers and other things, right? Also with like enterprise grade security. Yeah, this is this where our product use case starts, which is like we solve a lot of problems like this. And I'll go to the product dashboard. So once you sign up Skillmine Auth, you'll get dashboard like this. I mean the portal like this. So the screen what you're seeing is the dashboard. So it will give you the snapshot of the entire system and it will pick the important points and it trying to show over here. And this screen is entirely customizable based on your business. And suppose you want to see recent activities in the first place, you can customize it. And it will be the snapshot of the entire system. See, for example, how many users are registered, how many emails sent, SMS sent, how many login failures, how many active users, how many concurrent users, and what is the new user returning users, and so many things. Like how many providers, for example, how many of them are logged in with Google, how many of them logged in with AD and other stuffs. And I'll quickly move to the settings part. So suppose if you want to integrate with various like a third party and your own AD enterprise providers, you can quickly configure it, meaning you can easily configure it. See, for example, in this one, if you want to link with like a Facebook or Google, see any provider who supports Auth 2 and OpenID Connect, we can easily integrate here with a click of just entering some small details, minimal details. I mean, see if you see here, this is the step we need to enter for integrating Google into our system. It just need to create, I mean, we have a documentation here. You can go and check it over here, how to get this client ID and secret and what are the scopes you need it. And that's it. So it will be available for your users like login with Google or login with Facebook, right? And also we do have a support for a lot of enterprise providers. And currently we have AD, Google Suite, Salesforce and Office 365. Obviously this list is expandable. So these things for a classical enterprise who still uses XAML, and we have a support for them as well. And we'll give a whatever we need for them, right? We'll give all the details over here, and they can fill it over here, which means these details they'll get it from the other provider, and they will put it over here, and we'll start to integrate with them. See, for example, one of the example configuration like this. Sorry, like this. So we just need to exchange the certificates in both parties and specify what is the column in their side and what the column you wanted in the our side, the field, I mean, and that's it. So After this also will be available as one of the login provider for your customer, and they can log in with that. And suppose, let's see, we have a support for like a roughly like a 12 providers over here. And if anything not in the list and still you want to integrate, as long as they support or through an OpenID Connect, you can come here and you can add as your own. So it will automatically become as one of the provider and you can start to use that. There is another aspect of this is the single sign-on, which what Anand mentioned earlier. Assume as an enterprise, you have as your company, have like a lot of apps to log in. For example, attendance, like a client portal, like Salesforce, email, documents, and other stuffs. So what this SSO will give you unified login. So you log in once and you navigate to other apps without any login asked. So this will help you to maintain like not only login in terms of administrator point of view, like they can, if employee leaves or employee onboarding, it's very easy. They just need to add it in one place. So it will control it in all other places automatically. So we do have support for GitLab and Google ReadyMade. And obviously this list also expandable based on the use case. And we'll ask minimal details like this. See this integration is two-way, which is this is the information you need to give it to the GitLab side, and GitLab gives you some details and you have to put it over here. That's it. Right. So next I'll quickly move to the other customization part. Like assume I'll go to the registration field. So in this Skillmine Auth, you can customize all the fields you wanted. See, for example, assume you take one use case, you're a bank and you need to collect two different information from your customer. Assume car loan and personal loan. So this will collect two different two different information. One may collect with salary details, other details collect salary details, also plus car details, the loan amount. It varies, right? So you can customize this, meaning you can create fields over here and you can tag with the flows, which means we have a flow like a car loan flow or personal loan flow, right? You can tag with that. So it will give you the like isolated way of collecting information. And beauty is it will merge with the already existing one. It will be like a progressive. So so it will avoid your avoid the deduplication. So that is inbuilt to the system. So if you see the fields, there are a lot of data types. It's like you are defining like variables and attributes over here. Yeah. And I'll quickly move to the other settings. If, for example, you can do a password policy. You can define various password policy for your organization, and you can configure with like this, like for example, minimum characters, maximum characters, all these things you can control over here. So as I told you earlier, like we have a support for Google CAPTCHA, and we support 1.2 and 3, all versions of Google's basically, CAPTCHA basically. With this, we can control the flow. So I'll show the flow, one of the flow. See, for example, if you configure a CAPTCHA and then you can control it over here, we'll log in. How many attempts we not to show Kafka, sorry, a CAPTCHA, and then if keep on the user is keep on retrying, or like the bot is trying to hack your system, what to do with that user? So these are controlled. These all come as a flow, so you can control easily. Also, we have a support for hosted page. For example, the earlier example, what I said is like you have a home loan and car loan. Suppose you want to decorate this 2-page in the isolated and meaning 2 different themes and 2 different styles, you can still do it. And you can just configure it over here. The car loan flow will go to that particular design and it will collect information based on that. So like that, you can create many flows. So I'll show you what are the pages we have. For example, what login page, registration success page, all these pages you can customize on yourself. And you just need to let us know, okay, so where to redirect on that particular scenario. So we do have a support for templates. Any communication happening from Skillmine Auth is customizable in terms of template. You can go here and see these are the template options we have. I mean, key we have. Assume once the user is registered, it will ask for a user verification. The default is already configured. Suppose if you want to configure on your own, you can come and configure still here. The last settings part is the webhook settings. The webhook settings is like it will notify your target endpoint, like whatever the event happening in our system. See, I'll show you the example event. See, these are the available event with us in the Skillmine Auth. So basically any event happened within our site. For example, when the user login, when the user is created, any modification happened, any user deleted. So this will notify your system so that you can keep your database also in a sync. Or suppose if you want to take any further actions, you can do with that. Right. So once these settings are done, so you are linking that with this flow. I'll show you quickly the overview of the flow. So flow is like you can customize various business use case with that, which means you can control how your registration should be, like what are the providers I need to enable for this particular registration, and whether the CAPTCHA needs to enable or not. Like you can control these flows for each registration. You can control the form fields, which I mentioned earlier. So once I register, whether I need to send the welcome email or not, like once they register, whether it should be automatically login or not. See, again, this list also expandable based on the use case. Similarly for the login also. There are a lot of flows. I don't want to go into the deep, but I think you got the idea what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so most of the features and things are pretty much configurable. And
Yes.
During the implementation exercise, most of this are provided with enough documentation training to the authentication administrators at the customer side, so that it becomes a much more sustainable to continue to administrate, but at the same time continue to add to this by your developer community.
Right. So once the users are registered, right? So they'll be listed over here, and you can go there and you can see the profile in a collective manner. So in this case, it will show when they last logged in, when it's created, user is active or not, whether the email is verified or whether the mobile is verified or not. And if you order any other custom fields, it will start to show here. And also you can control the permissions and roles over here. And obviously you can do all the self-service from the administrator side also. Right. So I want to quickly cover this groups and roles. So any organization, it needs a like a strict RBAC, which means role-based access control. So it have three actors in it, which means groups, roles, and permissions. So group is like, for example, you are in HR department and you have a role of like HR admin and another role like HR assistant or something, and you can tell that role what the role is allowed to do. For example, HR admin can hire people, or like they can decide CTC, or they can fire people, and the HR assistant maybe she can or he can review the resume and give the feedback. So these you can customize in the permissions, groups, and roles, and you can associate that with the users like this. Once you create a users and groups, you can come here and you can add those roles, and not necessarily with our UI. So our product is fully API friendly, meaning from it is API first product. So we have whatever I showed you in the administration portal, you can control it with your own UI and your own API, your own need basically. So everything it comes as the API over here, and we will share this documentation also once you sign up with us. Yeah. And also I want to quickly cover the other things what we have. Like for example, this is MFA settings. So classical, meaning nowadays we saw like a lot of user supports, like meaning with email, SMS, IVR, MFAs. In addition to that, we support the modern ways, like for example, FIDO I explained before. Like this, if the FIDO is they like user no need to remember anything. They just need to touch their device. It's like opening their mobile. Assume the user comes to your website and they're trying to log in. They just prompt the native authentication of the mobile or computer. They just placing their fingerprint or like they're showing face. It'll let them log in. So imagine the like a user experience. Like it is very smooth. They don't need to enter anything on it, right? So like that we will control. We have like many other factors. Yeah. Then I'll quickly want to go to this payment gateways. So suppose if you are assume you are running a e-commerce business or any business you like to sell something in the online. So we have a ready-made support, integration support for the
webinar session. Most in morning, I'm in a webinar session.
Yeah. So we have a support for these providers. meaning the payment gateway providers. Obviously, these lists are like expandable based on the provider what you are using it. So currently we have support for these, and you just need to configure it, and you can define a flow. See, for example, see whatever the money comes in the US dollar, you can collect with the CACC Avenue, and whatever comes in the Indian money, and you can collect with some other gateway. Like this, you can control the flow. Not only this money one, and you can what we will do if you order more than one for the same money thing, based on the usage, I mean based on the load, we will smartly route it to which payment gateway it should collect. Also, suppose assume the CC1 is down for some reason, so we smartly redirect to the PayPal or like what are the provider you provided over here. And also there's a product level customization you can do. Assume one product, when one particular product, if you route through one payment gateway, you will detect it less like margin or less commission. Then you can do that also. Yeah. And the KYC part, like we do a support for like a Aadhaar and a PAN card number, sorry, PAN card evaluation. So in this one, like we validate their identity with the government portal. Also, we do scoring on our own also, which means based on the government portal, we give one score. And also we compare the, for example, if you take PAN card, we will take your photo and we will ask them to show their face, and we'll give a, we'll try to match a face match, and also the aging factor and other things. With that, we'll give the score, also the gender match, like, so each field in the PAN card, for example, PAN card have a PAN card number, name, father name, right? So each field will give a score. Based on that score, you can decide for your business, okay, what to do next, kind, right? Similarly for the Aadhaar card. Right? And finally, I want to show in the demo, like when we have a lot of reports. Obviously, this reports is like a inbuilt report, but this reports you can customize the way you want it. Yeah. So finally, I want to show how this will be integrated in the code. Suppose if you are a developer, you are interested in the how it will be integrated in my code. So Skillmine contributes to the the npm repos. Like same way, we'll publish all the libraries in the respective registries. See, for example, NuGet, Maven Central Repository, and other things. So this is the example from the Node.js. And the integration is wise, like very easy. Assume you have already a web application running. You just need to install this library and configure, establish a link. It is like it may be a environment variable update. You just need to tell us, okay, where the Skillmine auth is running. And then this is the only line you are going to add to your code. See, this is your normal code in your existing one. Assume you are creating department, and create department logic goes here. You just need to add this one. So we will give you the security what we talked before. So without, in this case, this line takes care of the authentication, and this line takes care of the authorization. So he should have the scope, or he should be part of this group and with this role, like that. Okay. Yeah. So this is as I told you earlier, like there are two ways to integrate with your program, which is one is the SDK inbuilt. If you're not satisfied with the SDK thing, you can go for the direct API, which is always there. You can you can add it to any application. You can add it now. Yeah, that's it from my side. So any questions, I'm happy to take.
Hi, everyone. So you were explaining about the multi-factor authentication, right? So
yes,
do we support the authenticator? I mean, apps-based authenticator nowadays.
Yes.
Yes. Play Store we have to download.
Yes.
And then it will generate the code. So do we support that kind of authentication?
Yes. I'll tell you. So thing is, so there is a common protocol called TOTP, which that's the one you are using it in your Google Authenticator or like a Microsoft Companion app. So we do have a companion app, which means you can download it from the Play Store and you can use it, and it will come as the app also as SDK, which is again it limited to one protocol, meaning if it's a common, it's a TOTP, which is time-based authentication. You can still have it, but if you use our authenticator, which means our authenticated companion app, you will get the option to do the more, for example, face, voice, and other things also. So answer is yes, Silva.
Okay. Second question is, do we, this is security based, do we recognize geography based or,
Obviously,
restrict
yes.
or,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. So these are comes as a like a login flow or registration flow restrictions. So each flow you can control the geography, not only geography, other factors also. Meaning, assume you want to control based on the age or like you can control it whatever you wanted. So in this case, we try to identify by the IP address and also the other factors from the browser. And we do basically a fraud check, and we will decide then whether to let this guy in or out. You can obviously you can obviously like fence it, which means users from this particular region can sign in or sign up. You can do that, yes.
And do we
While
detect,
there could be more questions, please ask. I'll just share a screen to give you a small illustration. So, right. Please continue with your question.
Yes, Alva.
Yeah. Do we detect DDoS attack or something?
Yes. So thing is, the DDoS attack prevention is in the 2 layers. One is in the application layer. So one is in the load balancer level itself. So we do have a support. I mean, we do have integration with the Cloudflare, which will prevent you the initial DDoS attack, and then also we'll detect with application layer also. See, the detecting in the web server level is a good thing. When it comes to application, it already started choking our application. But even we have application, meaning we have a layer to mitigate that attack in the one level above our application, which means we give an interceptor. So if you install interceptor, the interceptor will take care of this mitigations for you. So what basically it will do is it will, you can configure it how many requests you wanted per minute or the source, right? Typical DDoS attack prevention, like same machine or like a distributed attack, right? You can prevent it, yes.
Do we apply rate limits?
Yeah, obviously, yes. That's what I said. Like you can control it based on the rate limit, or you can control it based on the source.
Yeah, so actually one more comment, Vimal, in terms of these questions, the right way of doing it obviously is to have a gateway. So that gateway should do all the throttling, any kind of a denial of service attack prevention, all those things it should be handling. What we typically recommend is that with this product you'll have to have a gateway as well. So some gateway product is necessary. For example, if you have APIs, there are several third-party gateways. Open source gateways are also there, like Ong. So those are what is recommended to go with this product.
So, Selva, as I mentioned earlier, so we do have a support for Google CAPTCHAs, right? So if we detect any like anonymous behavior like this, we'll immediately go for a 2-factor or the CAPTCHAs. So it will give you the additional protection for your application.
Sure. Thanks.
So
thanks, Ishwar.
So basically, our anomaly systems, right? It will keep check your incoming request. Assume the token is issued for Vimal is using like one user is using like a MacBook Pro and he is using Chrome always. If suddenly comes that token comes from like various other system or other like browser, we'll immediately prevent it. So this we usually calculate all requests. We calculate the fingerprint. A fingerprint is like based on like suppose you are using Chrome. What is your resolution? What is the fonts you install? What are the plugins you installed? What is your internet speed? Based on that, we will detect your fingerprint. Obviously, this is not going to change frequently, so it will tell you okay whether it is a genuine request or not. Also, we detect various factors. See, for example, one usual behavior is he log into the system on a particular time, and if he detect any like abnormal time, see for example 9 to 10, he usually log in, and if he logs in various time, we'll obviously come in to say, well, was something wrong? Go for MFA.
Thank you.
Yes.
At this point, I would like to interrupt and ask our audience to put their questions in the chat, or they can even raise their hand in case they have any queries.
Thank you, Farhan. I think there is a question from the audience. What's the scope of AI and automation in IAM? identity and access management?
Yeah, there is a lot. So thing is the fraud detection system, what I said is it entirely runs on the AI, which means we have a lot of inbuilt machine learning models to detect whether this is a genuine request or like a fraudulent request. And I said like the face recognition, voice recognition, it entirely runs on the ML and AI.
Thank you, Mr. Vimal. I think there's one more that's come in. In your opinion, what's the major challenge in identity and access management?
So see, honestly speaking, like if you are doing any, suppose you are a developer and all developers' nightmare is like how to see, for example, I am developing my own application, how to authenticate that particular user and how to maintain that sessions or other things. Like for example, one may go with a cookie, one may go with like a unique ID stored in database, right? So this cloud identity, right, it will give you unique way of like handling those things. See, for example, it will give you the JWT token. It have a format. For example, it comes with who issued the token and on what basis, what are the roles it have, what are the claims it have, that particular authentication. So in future, if you are moving to other provider, it is very easy because all are following the same pattern. So Vishwa, you want to add something?
Yeah, thank you, Vimal. There's one more question. How important is it for businesses to have identity and access management policies and procedures?
Yeah. So one of the classical problem which we kind of faced before us, like assume I have a business and I have like like hundreds of applications in my business. And suppose I want to onboard a user, creating those users in all the systems and keep them in sync is like, it's a big admin task now, right? So if you use identity management with SSO enabled, so you just need to like create in one place or delete in one place, it will handle for you. And not only that, it comes with the cost, which means suppose if you are going for a new protocol way or new like development, there are a lot to migrate. Suppose if you use solution like us, right, we will give a compatible with like, see, the front facing interface for any or new application will always talk with a new protocol and new standards. But underlying, we have a technology to convert that to your classical, which means your legacy protocols, for example, XAML, AD, and other LDAP, other things. So as an enterprise, like I think you don't need to spend more on this. Suppose if you want to migrate to one to other, like it will be a nightmare and it will cost a lot. But since we are giving a layer, it will be easy for you.
Yeah, Vishwa or Anand sir, would you like to add anything more to this?
I have one more point to add as the last point. So this particular topic is quite pertinent today, but the real benefit comes from an adaptability perspective. And to adapt to such a solution, because every organization has a multitude of different applications, how they are hosted, how they are being used, how is the user behavior, and what are some of the internal challenges, the right thing to do is to actually ask for a proof of concept with some part of a small scope, which could be a mirror, which could be a smaller ball compared to the larger ball, but more of a similar kind of a complexity with the variation. So if anybody would be interested to get a POC done, we will be more than happy to do that POC, to do a proof point of the solution, which will help you do two things: to understand how this particular piece of engineering will make it very simple for the complexity of authentication and authorization in your company, and at the same time it gives you the whole idea about the productivity benefits, what this can bring to not just to the user community but to the developer community as well. So it is seeing it is believing it. Now you have heard about it, so take your call. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another question on Skillmine Authenticator. How does Skillmine Auth impact user experience?
Yes,
The
I think
answer is very simple. one ID across all applications. And if you are an internal application and if your organization has a policy to have a frictionless password, then it is one click to access what you need. So the user experience is fantastic. You don't have to log in every time. As long as you are on an authorized connectivity on an authorized device, you will be able to access.
So especially with the single-legged authentication, I told you, before at least you need to remember a username to trigger a MFA. Now you don't need to do that also, but by seeing you, it will tell you, okay, this is this user.
So,
Yeah, there's
do we provide?
Yeah, sure. Please continue.
Yes, Salva.
Do we provide a on-prem solution?
Yeah,
Means,
obviously, yes. Yeah, that's a good question, Silva. Yes. So this will come as a as a toolkit, which means you can deploy it in your own environment, and we'll give you the spec and other things. You can deploy it. Yes.
Are there any more questions? In case you have any questions or any doubts, you can raise it here. We'll be winding up the show in the next 5 minutes.
Vimal sir, I had one question. What are the major email service providers that Auth can be integrated with? I think you're on mute, Vimal sir.
Again, I'm sorry. So it is currently the SendGrid and MailChimp and SMTP. Obviously, you can integrate with any other protocol you want, provider you want. So basically the internal structure of how we did it is these all plug in for us. So any provider you want, as long as they can open the API to us, we'll integrate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Similarly for the SMS, like we have a TWU, we have a Message 99, absolutely. So many providers, yes.
There's one more question that we've got. How do we identify if the access management solution for your business is aligning with your business need?
Anand sir, you like to take it?
Can you just repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. How to identify if the access management solution aligns to your business need?
So that's, I think I'll take that, Vimal. So in terms of the business need, right? This is what we've studied in the industry. All the enterprises we've looked at, which are of more than maybe 50, 60 employees, all the way to millions of employees, have the similar problem of having to integrate different applications, have a consistent front end, all the good things that we talked about. That is there in every business vertical that we've looked at. So that's how we justify the toolkit. And in terms of business alignment, since we keep up with the new technologies, right? So suppose there is a new protocol out there, there is a new way of doing password challenge or new OTP methods, all those we will continue to support as a product. So that's how the alignment is achieved.
Yeah, so I think that's all the questions that we have got today. That brings us to the end of the session. Thank you, Mr. Anant, Vimal, and Vishwa for joining us today. Thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you, everyone, for every member of the audience to come and register and provide us your time to go through this session. Some of the materials, the team will send it over. And if you have any further questions, then please loop back to us. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.